anytime we get new series in Jump, some series are unfortunately going to have to leave the lineup. And this time, a lot of series are leaving the lineup, at least 4 of them.
Yeah, basically all the series that started alongside Samurai 8 have ended, plus Yui Kamio has ended. So, Yui Kamio Let Loose, Double Taisei, Tokyo Shinobi Squad, Beast Children, all donezo, all have ended.
Yeah, I think at the time of this recording, we're still waiting for Tokyo Shinobi Squad's final chapter. But yeah, basically by the time you're listening to this, all of these will be completely over. I can't say I have a lot to say about some of these series. Yui Kamio in particular, we were kind of talking off mic. I forget where I dropped it, because I did drop it eventually just because I really didn't think the series was that funny in the beginning. I don't know if the comedy has been upped at all since I stopped reading it, but I know
no, it's not a comedy series anymore. Like, it changed into a horror battle manga, and it was really cool. It was a woman's focused horror battle manga. It had tons of crazy powers and creepy imagery, pretty metal stuff. And so I'm real sad it's ended, because it got pretty crazy and it was crazy fun. And unfortunately, it did not get to explore all of its ideas. I really feel that Shibashi also didn't end the final chapter in the most satisfying way, because like the first half of the chapter is devoted to them getting out of a dangerous confrontation with the supposed final boss, and then the second half of the chapter is, well, now we're all back together and we're gonna just have some like goofy fun stuff for half a chapter. But it's not as satisfying as like, you could have ended it with like this big dramatic thing about Kito and Yui's relationship and how they'll be together and stick up for each other. They're the threat of, all these girl bosses and Mushi across Japan is still at large, but they're gonna continue the good fight together. They're gonna have that kind of sentiment, but instead it's like this, in the last half of the final chapter, they turn it back to romantic comedy, hijinksy stuff, and the final panel is just like, it's not satisfying at all. It's just like this comment of, we're goofy stuff's happening. So I was very disappointed with how the series ended, because I thought, even if it was a short-lived series, it could have gone out on a really great note, because like the series was still fun to read right up until the end, but I thought that Shibashi made a poor choice in wrapping up the series with half a chapter of goofy stuff instead of like a solid dramatic finish and like really, nice character resolution imagery. But that's a shame. It's still better than Double Taisei's ending, which was all kinds of weird, where we have a flash forward to the future where they built a prison in which Haga and Taisei are playing this shogi game, like one move a day while Tai is in the prison, and it's weird. I don't understand the point of it. It was really bizarre. Like, if it had ended the chapter before, you could have said, well, the series took a while to find itself, but it had, by the end, kind of found something in the relationship between these 4 rivals, and that was kind of satisfying. But then the final chapter is like, what was the point of this? Why go this weird? I don't understand.
Double Taisei was a series that, like, once I dropped it, I was just kind of like, yeah, I'm glad I dropped it as soon as I could, because it really does sound like it just got so much weirder.
Well, the thing is, Double Taisei actually ended up being pretty fun once they introduced the 4 rivals. Like there's Haga and Goketsu, the prince, the rich Doma, I forget his name on top of my head, and then the Satome. Like, all 4 of them are fun. They had interesting relationships with the protagonists in terms of the rivalry. And so then, when they were introduced, I thought the series got pretty fun. There was an interesting story with I think I keep getting his name wrong, but like the rich one who felt like he was like fated to have to give up shogi and take on all these responsibilities and die young, like his father, because that was like just the curse of his family or whatever. So that was a particularly interesting story.
Okay.
And so like the series had some interesting ideas and there were interesting parts, but like the ending, that final chapter, I just scratched my head wondering, what does this have to do with what came before in terms of the character development and like the actual development of the story? It doesn't make that much sense. And then Beast Children ended kind of interestingly because you had this final match between with Sakura, his name, the main character, and his rival teams like fought, and then then there were like some wrap up chapters where his best friend finally joined the rugby team and got acclimated to that. And then the final note that Beast Children ends on is that the rugby team, like, there's all sorts of different people in it, and, they're all really different, but they're all coming together for one cause, and that's really cool. And, like, that is gonna help them grow. And that's like the real appeal of rugby, is like playing with all these different people who all respect each other and all share this love of the game. So it was kind of a nice note to end on, even if it, like, didn't end up building to anything grand necessarily. So
I will admit, I did end up dropping Beast Children, I think like 4 or 5 chapters in, mostly because like it felt like the kind of thing that like I would rather read in chunks. Not that I thought it was like particularly like bad or anything. But I will give credit to our good friend Maxie. He almost convinced me to pick it back up just on the sheer fact that like it seemed like he in particular was really enjoying it. I know for a fact. So if anything, I feel sorry for Maxie that Beast Children unfortunately has come to a once again a premature end. So
yeah, there was potential there. Of the 3 that I've just talked about, Beast Children is my least favorite, but it did have the best ending of those 3. And Shinobi Squad, I have not read the final chapter at the time of this recording, but I generally did not enjoy that series that much anyway, so we will see.
Did it ever get... I think I asked this question before, maybe, but like, did it ever get controversial ever again?
No, like that first chapter was just like a weird premise, and then from there it's just like a battle manga. But I just never felt like I understood like what was interesting about Jin as a protagonist, like what's really motivating him. And now towards the end, I guess they're giving that, but it's a little too late. Like, he just seemed like, well, he's a shonen protagonist, but like, what's motivating him? Why is he doing what he's doing? I don't know. And I felt that way for most of the protagonists. And there were some ideas and characters I did like during reading it, but overall, like, of the 4 that have ended, for sure, this was my least favorite.
Okay. Well, I guess really out of the 4, in terms of what I'm really looking forward to covering as far as canceled Jump series go, when we eventually get to these on the podcast, I think Yui Kamio and Tokyo Shinobi Squad are like the 2 I'm kind of interested in like going back to, because I was going to mention with Yui Kamio earlier that like I wasn't sure if like, maybe the comedy got better, but like from what I had seen of it, like out of context, like it seemed like it just turned into a completely different thing altogether. So, I don't know. I'm kind of surprised that it didn't like turn me back onto reading it, because like from the way you describe it, it sounds like it got a lot more interesting, personally speaking. But like,
yeah, Yui Kamio got pretty awesome. Like that. I am very, very sad that has ended.
And then, Tokyo Shinobi Squad, like, that was just something where, because of how that first chapter started, I was wondering, like, how far it was going to go. But, like, from what I keep hearing, like, it didn't really, like, evolve at all past that. If anything, it just got less interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely the least interesting of the series that have ended.
But I don't know, like, I feel like for Tokyo Shinobi Squad, we could probably get on 1 or 2 special guests on for that, hopefully, if we play our cards right. Because there are certain people I would love to talk to about this series. So if anything, like when and if we cover Tokyo Shinobi Squad in full on the podcast, like I'm mostly looking forward to talking to special guests, if more than actually like covering the manga, if anything. So there's that.
Yeah, I can definitely see the appealing points of the series. I would be interesting to talk about it with people who really did enjoy Shinobi Squad and see their impressions of it.
Yeah, because I know there were people who did enjoy it. So, But no, yeah. So that's pretty much about everything that's edited and Jump up to this point. Again, so I can't remember the last time we've just seen a mass exodus of like new series like this. I feel like it's been a while.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen a lot, but when it does, it's just like, wow, like it's kind of depressing in a way. Like Jump starts up all these new series, and it's just like I think we even talked about it on the episode, like Beast Children, Double Taisei, and Tokyo Shinobi Squad, like that round in particular. I think from what we've covered on the show, in our time doing this podcast, I think that was like probably the least interesting run of Jump Starts we'd ever cover.
Yeah, I think when we were talking about it on the start, their first chapters definitely were the least interesting batch of the lot, for sure. Like
really, I think the only first chapter out of the bunch that we covered was like. That I think we both enjoyed was probably Samurai 8, and even then,
I remember, I'm sure I had problems, and Samurai 8 has also not been terribly good. I mean, it's had its ups and downs, but I wouldn't say it's necessarily that much better than any of the series that have ended.
No, so real swing and a miss on Shueisha's part with these. I feel like